Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be part 6 of the Mark II 180 build, and in this video we're going to be installing your O2J shift tower into your O2a transmission. Next we're going to be installing the Flywheel and the Clutch, and I wanted to give a big shout out to Cascade German for helping me out with this clutch kit. They give me a huge discount. Also, if you're doing a Mark II swap, they have a Mark II guy. This is his card. I'll put down in this corner right here, Chad. He is the man. If you guys have any questions of Mark II, I'll link Cascade German's website down below for you, and I'll link Chad's information down below. So if you guys have any questions on any parts that you need for any swaps or any of your cars, you can contact them down below. And I'll talk more about the kit that I got from them when we actually start installing the Flywheel and the Clutch onto the engine. Also, we're gonna be installing the transmission onto the engine. And then lastly, we're gonna be connecting the correct engine bracket and transmission bracket to be able to hook down on the Mark III subframe. Here we go. Before we get started, I wanted to show you guys that I did get my other intake on, so the throttle body's not over here anymore, it's over there. I also put the new accessory bracket on. Got new wiring on, and if you guys want to know more information about that, I'll put something up right in the corner. You can press on that to see why I switched my intake around and did all that stuff. So yeah, let's get started on installing the O2J shift tower. First, we need to drain the oil out of this, take the old shift tower off, and then we'll put the new one on. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is drain the old transmission fluid out. And you don't need to drain the fluid out if you don't want to. I have changed shift towers by leaving the fluid in, but I have new fluid to put in this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and drain it out, and then we'll get to the shift tower. So this is what you're gonna need to drain the transmission fluid out of an O2a transmission. It's an H17 Allen. Make sure you get this loose before you put the transmission up on something, because you're not going to be able to get it loose if it's just if you can't wedge the transmission on something it's on there really hard. So I always get them loose before I put them up here. And this is a good time to see if there's any metal in the transmission. Now that we have the fluid changed out, I'm going to be getting these two bolts off and then lifting the tower up. So with this tower and this brace, I'm not going to be able to use my 12 mil socket and extension. It's just I just can't get it on the bolts, so I'm going to have to use a regular wrench. So this is where you guys want to hit. Just put something right here and just hit it with a hammer to break this seal loose. Okay, so now that we hit this up, now we can work it back and forth to get it out. And so when you get it out, bring it over to your O2J shift tower. Okay, so now that we have the shift tower out of your O2A transmission, what I like to do is I always take the bottom of my O2J shift tower that I pull out, just to make sure that they're the same size. I know someone in the comments will probably say, but I can't remember if the Corrado VR6 or the G60 there's one that is a different size. So now I'm going to see, just make sure this fits on here. And if it doesn't, we're gonna have to pull this bottom piece out and just switch it with this one. But if it's the same size, then we can just leave that one. And yeah, it's yeah, the O2J one is bigger, fits a lot better. This O2A G60 transmission, this shaft is a lot smaller, so I'm gonna have to pull out the bottom piece in this one and put in this one. Okay, so this is the bottom piece that we need to take out, 13 mil. Same thing, it has a sealant around it, so you kind of just have to break it loose. Okay, so now that we have this all cleaned off and I've cleaned off this piece, I'm going to put a little bead of the gray gasket maker on this. You probably don't need to, but I'd rather just put a little bead around this so I make sure it doesn't leak. So we got that all on there and sealed up, and now we'll put this back down and we'll put the tower in there. So before I took the shift tower out, I made sure everything was in neutral, so you should be able to see all the way down at the bottom. And there's a couple things that you want to do to line up your new shift tower to go in. So if you see this little guy right here, and then obviously this piece. You need to line those up with this side. That's where the first piece fits, and then down below you can see that it's kind of going like you know, down like this way. So okay, so we have the shift tower in. I usually don't put gasket maker on the top. I just clean it really good and bolt it down. I did have to remove this bolt. I couldn't get anything in there to get this as, you know, as tight as I wanted. But we're done with that. So now we're gonna be switching to installing the flywheel and the clutch on the engine. So before I take the engine off the stand, I want to go to the rear of it, and I want to get this intercooler piping off, because we have to unbolt it down here, because this is where our engine bracket is going to go. Okay, so we're going to take off this intercooler piping, and there's a few brackets. There's one here we have to undo, and then the one down there. So now that we have the piping out of the way and we have the brackets that hold the piping on, these are the bolt holes that you're gonna need. And I'm using a Mark III TDI bracket to hook onto here to go right down on the Mark III subframe. So, and these bolts on the bracket, I made sure I kept the bolts because they're smaller on the bottom than on the top. So I don't, you know, if you get too long of bolts, you might puncture the block. So make sure you have the right bolts. Okay, so now that we have the rear motor mount bracket on, I'm going to take the engine off the stand and get the engine hoist out so we can lower it onto the ground and we can work on putting the flywheel in the clutch. Okay, so now that we have the engine all set up and I think I have enough room to put the flywheel on, the kit that I got from Cascade German is right here. And this is the 14-pound flywheel kit, and it's with the VR6 clutch. And you know, this clutch is good for 300 horsepower. And you know, with this car, I think that's all I'm gonna have for a while. If I end up going more than that, you know, I'll probably end up taking off the transmission and putting a diff in. So at that point, I'll be putting probably a better clutch that can hoard more torque and horsepower. But for the time being and for years to come, I think this clutch is going to be perfect. And this is what I feel like most people get with this application when you put it into a Mark II. So thanks again, Cascade German, for really giving me a good discount on this clutch system. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open it up and get the flywheel out and start putting it on. So to put the flywheel on, you can't mess it up. There's a certain bolt pattern, and the same bolt pattern goes on to here. So, okay, so now that you have the bolts on there, I just impacted them, but I didn't go all the way in. You're gonna need to get a torque wrench, and it's 44 foot-pounds, and then we have a 180-degree turn after we get there. So when you're tightening these, this is gonna wanna turn. So there is a tool you can buy to put right here, and it holds the flywheel. If you don't have that, you can just come back here, just put, I think it's a 19 mil and a wrench on something, so it just, you know, the motor won't turn. So now, yeah, I'm gonna torque all these to 44 foot-pounds going in like a circle, and then I will be drawing a line straight up and down, so then I'll know when I get to the 180-degree turn. Okay, yeah, way easier with the bigger torque wrench. So yeah, all my lines were straight up and down, and I went all the way 180 degrees, now they're all down. So that's awesome, nice and torqued. And now before we put the clutch on, I'm gonna spray this with brake clean and let it dry, and then put the clutch on. Okay, so now that we have the flywheel all nice and clean, we're going to be putting the clutch on. And when you do this, there is a tool that usually comes with the clutch kits. It's black. You put it in here, and then you put the clutch over it, and it lines up the clutch on here. I've used them in the past, and you know, I still kind of have to hold it up, I feel like, when I'm torquing in the pressure plate around which holds the clutch in. And I just feel like I can kind of make a better tool, which this is a 14 mil socket, and I, you know, just kind of put tape around it to fit it perfectly in this hole. And then I can get the clutch and put the clutch on here, and then you can just look at the clutch. If it's even all the way around, you know it's going to be good. But if you have it sagging down a little bit to the bottom, you're gonna have to hold it up while you put the pressure plate on. So I don't know, if you have the tool, great. If you don't, you can make your own. It's not that hard, and I feel like this does a better job anyway. So when you put the clutch on, you can just look if you have more space up here than down here. And if you have the tool, usually it's even worse. You have a bigger gap up here than down here. And then when you go to put the pressure plate on, you have to like hold this up. Mine has a little bit of movement. I guarantee that tool has the same thing or a little bit more. So this is perfect for me. I'm gonna go ahead and put the pressure plate on and call it good. So when you put your pressure plate on there, if two of them line up really good and the third one's kind of close, all you need to do is on the third one, tighten these ones first until it slides over the little dial that sticks out. And there, see, now mine all line up perfectly. So now I'll just impact them on a little bit, and then we'll torque them down in a star pattern. Okay, now that we've got them all torqued down, just take out my tool, hopefully. Okay, now that we have the flywheel on, we have the pressure plate on, everything's torqued to spec. If you guys do want to order from Cascade German, you know, a pretty awesome thing that they do, they send you with all new bolts, and the little baggie has all the torque specs on it. So that's awesome. You don't have to look it up, you know, online trying to figure out which one is the correct one to do. So yeah. So that's done. So now I'm going to drop the engine on the floor, and I'm going to get the transmission ready to get bolted up to the engine. Okay, so now that we have the engine on the ground and I have the transmission to where I'm going to put it on, if you want to take this off, and we need to replace your throwout bearing. So I got the old throwout bearing off, put the new one on, and then we'll install this back on. Okay, so that, you know, this makes it really easy. So you slide, the front of the engine is lifted up just a little bit, so you just slide the transmission up to it. I got first top two bolts, you know, are right there, and now I'm gonna lift it up. I'm gonna get the bottom ones, and then we'll put the starter on, and then you know, we're good to go. So we got the transmission on. Now I'm going to take my O2a Corrado starter and put it on there with the Mark II bolts and with my Mark III TDI bracket. As you can see here, there's quite a big difference. This is the one, you know, a lot of people like to use, is the G60 bracket. And as you can see, the angle, it's a lot different angle than the Mark III TDI one. And as you can see, the Mark III one is a lot beefier. The Mark II or the Corrado one, you know, G60 one, it doesn't have as much metal even on the front side here. So I'm using, and all these part numbers for this bracket, the part number, and for my rear mount that I'm using, I'll have that part number down below. Okay, so we put the O2J tower in today. We got the flywheel and the clutch on, we got the transmission on, and we got the starter with the front motor mount bracket on. So all the parts for the brackets that I use, I'll have that down below. I'll also have a link down below showing how to install the flywheel and clutch a little bit better. There's a whole bunch of videos on that stuff already, so I don't really feel like I need to go over some of that stuff. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I just want to give a huge shout out again to Cascade German for giving me a really good deal on that clutch system. If you guys need any parts, I'll have the link to their site down below. Super excited to get that Mark II in here and put the engine in hopefully in the next coming days. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next video.